The Lemonade Ripple by Paul Reichert. A sweet story of kindness and charity. Caroline's best summer started when she fell out of a lemon tree. Caroline was helping her grandmother pick lemons to make lemonade. Caroline's grandmother made the sweetest lemonade in all of Rivertown. Nothing tasted better on a warm summer afternoon. After Caroline picked all the lemons she could reach from the ground, she climbed the lemon tree to pick the juicy-looking lemons in the higher branches. But as she shimmied onto the branch and stretched to reach the bright yellow lemons just waiting to be picked, crack! The branch snapped and down she fell, along with the lemons. Caroline landed in the soft grass under the tree, feeling more embarrassed than hurt. She also felt a little sticky. Caroline's grandmother saw the whole thing and rushed over. "Caroline, are you okay? Did you hurt yourself?" she asked. I think I'm okay," Caroline answered. "I still feeling dazed and sticky." Caroline's grandmother looked her over and saw some cuts and bruises. Being a grandmother, she didn't want to take any chances. They drove to Rivertown Hospital, where Dr. Wellesley examined her. "You'll be fine," he told Caroline as he cleaned her cuts and applied some bandages. "But you should try milk instead of lemonade for a while. Cows are much closer to the ground." As Caroline left the hospital, she saw her friend Shannon coming in for a checkup. Shannon had been very sick a few years ago, and ever since she needed to use a wheelchair. But Caroline didn't recall Shannon's wheelchair like it was now. It was all scratched and tarnished, its seat was worn and patched, and its wheels were missing several spokes. Worst of all, it wobbled and squeaked whenever it rolled. "Shannon, what happened to your wheelchair?" Caroline asked. "It's just old," Shannon told her. "I've used it too much. It's worn out, like an old pair of shoes. I need to get a new one, but the kind I need costs more money than my parents can afford to pay. So I'll just have to make do with this one." All the way home, Caroline thought about her friend Shannon. If Shannon had to use a wheelchair, at least she should have one that didn't wobble and squeak. Caroline wished there was something she could do to help her friend. Later that day, Caroline's grandmother made a glass of lemonade with the lemons they picked from the tree. "This will make you feel better," her grandmother told her, as grandmothers are known to do. Caroline savored the sweet lemonade and smacked her lips in delight. "Grammy," Caroline told her, "this lemonade is so good you should sell it." Just as she said those words, an idea as the sunbeams on the river that afternoon popped into Caroline's head. What if she sold her grandmother's lemonade and used the money to help Shannon buy a new wheelchair? She was sure people would line up on a warm summer day to buy a glass of her grandmother's cool, sweet lemonade, especially if they knew it would help Shannon. The next day, Caroline's grandmother shared her secret lemonade recipe and showed Caroline how to squeeze the lemons just right. Then Caroline made a sign and a stand. She was so excited. Caroline worked at her stand all day, squeezing lemons and pouring lemonade for people as they passed by. Mixing so much lemonade was hard work, but Caroline didn't mind. She was having fun making friends with her new customers. At the end of the day, Caroline brushed off all the lemon peels stuck to her clothes and counted the money she had collected. $20, $21, $22, $23, $24, $25. It may not be enough to buy Shannon a whole new wheelchair, but Caroline knew it could help Shannon a little bit, and she sure had fun doing so. Two of Caroline's first customers that day were her friends, Lindsay and Griffin, who bought lemonade on their walk home from swimming in the river. They talked about how much fun Caroline was having at her lemonade stand. They also wanted to do something to help Shannon. They both knew how much her wheelchair wobbled and squeaked. "I wish we could change things for Shannon," Griffin said. "Change," shouted Lindsay. "That's it." The next day, the two friends launched a neighborhood coin drive. They went door to door asking their neighbors for any spare dimes, nickels, quarters, or pennies. It was like an exciting treasure hunt. People donated coins they found in all sorts of unusual places. Lindsay and Griffin had fun searching for coins and talking to all their neighbors, who were glad to help Shannon. Catherine, Caitlin, and Adam donated their spare change to the neighborhood coin drive, but they wanted to do more to help Shannon. Her wheelchair sure does wobble and squeak, Catherine said. So they started the Rivertown Doggy Daycare. Each day for a week, they offered to care for any dog in Rivertown if its owner made a small donation to help Shannon. The three neighbors enjoyed taking dogs for walks, playing with them in the park, and even feeding and grooming them. They cared for dogs of all shapes and sizes, from the smallest Chihuahua to the greatest Dane. Garrett, Charlie, Maddie, and Will all owned dogs who visited the doggy daycare, but they wanted to do more to help Shannon. They realized how badly her wheelchair wobbled and squeaked. There must be some way they could have fun on a warm summer weekend and help Shannon at the same time. So they opened the Rivertown Car Wash. After gathering all the sponges, buckets, and hoses they could find, the four friends spent the weekend washing cars and trucks of all shapes and sizes. Garrett soaked them up, Charlie rinsed them off, and Maddie and Will wiped them clean. Washing so many cars was hard work, but the kids didn't mind. They were having too much fun seeing who could make each car the soapiest, and launching sneak attacks with the hose when one of them wasn't looking. The coin drive collected $50, half of it in pennies. The doggy daycare earned $75, plus a lot of dog hair. The car wash raised $100, even if some of it was a little soggy. Each activity may not have raised enough money to buy Shannon a whole new wheelchair, but the kids all knew that they could help Shannon a little bit, and they each had fun doing so. Driving home from the car wash, Carolyn's grandmother admired how her new car looked almost brand new. She also bought lemonade at Caroline's lemon stand, donated coins to Lindsay and Griffin, and had her puppy walked at the doggy daycare. She was proud of all the kids in Rivertown for working so hard to help their friend Shannon. She was also happy to see that they were having so much fun doing it. In fact, Caroline's grandmother was inspired. If all these kids could do something to help Shannon, why couldn't she? And she knew just what to do. As soon as she got home, Caroline's grandmother called all her friends and neighbors in Rivertown. "I'm organizing a paddle for Shannon," she exclaimed. "What's a paddle?" they asked. Caroline's grandmother explained that if they made a small donation, they could bring their boats to the town beach on Saturday and paddle down the river in a race to help raise money for Shannon's new wheelchair. There would even be prizes for the fastest boat, the youngest paddler, and the person with the most river spirit. Everyone in Rivertown thought a paddle to help Shannon was a wonderful idea. They were glad for any reason to be out on the water in the summer. The whole town looked forward to the big race. When the day of the paddle arrived, Carolyn met her grandmother at the town beach. Caroline couldn't believe her eyes. As far as she could see, the river was full of kayaks, skiffs, canoes, paddle boats, rafts, shells, and anything else that could be paddled down the river. Almost everyone in Rivertown was at the paddle. Caroline's grandmother stood on the beach ready to start the paddle. "Because of all of you," she announced, "we have a special guest here today to help us start the paddle." She pointed toward the ramp at the end of the beach, and the crowd turned their heads to see who it could be. Just then, Shannon appeared and glided down the ramp in a shiny new wheelchair. No more wobbles, no more squeaks. All of the money that had been collected from the lemonade stand, the coin collection, the doggy daycare, the car wash, and the paddle was just enough to buy Shannon a new wheelchair. Shannon rolled smoothly to the end of the ramp with a huge smile on her face. The crowd burst into applause. The Rivertown cannon had been placed there as well. When Shannon pulled its cord, its loud blast echoed through the town, signaling the start of the race. Boom. Shannon did gleeful twists and turns in her new wheelchair, waving to everyone as they splashed by. As Caroline and her grandmother set off in their kayak, Caroline watched the water drip off the end of her paddle. When each drop hit the surface of the river, it made a small ripple in the water. That small ripple made a larger ripple, and that larger ripple made an even larger ripple. Each ripple grew bigger and stretched farther than the last. Caroline realized the same thing had happened in Rivertown that summer. She opened her lemonade stand, and that inspired the coin collecting, and that had sparked the idea for the doggy daycare, which led to the car wash and now the paddle. Each activity was bigger than the last, all of it was fun, and all of it did its part to help someone in need. Caroline gazed at the long parade of boats paddling across the water under the shimmering sun. The whole town was having fun on the river that day. To think this all started with just a glass of lemonade.